session. So we're going to have a panel discussion where your various questions that you have raised will be responded to. We have more questions than we could possibly handle. We'll group those together. Let me introduce the panelists. It'll be facilitated by John, our lead sensei.
Together. We shall do it together.
Right. And then we have from this side, Mr. N. Ramanathan is the former president of SRF, who's done some outstanding work in this field and is helping many other companies today. Then Jose, we all know, he has kept us all entertained both afternoons, post-lunch. Then Mr. Shenoy, whom you just heard a little while ago. Ravi Chandra, I don't need to introduce him. You guys all know him very well, the way he presented this morning. And then we have Ravi Ashanta, who is the extreme side. Okay, John.
Oh, okay. Oh, my goodness. So thank you, Janik. And we have two microphones. Can you hear me? So we have many questions. I observed to my host here that this is a very talkative group, a very talkative audience. And I asked if this was typical in India, and I'm told that it is. So this is wonderful. So we thought of how to organize this final session, and we thought we would try with a couple of different technologies. One, paper and pencil. Another is we can still have some dialogue. I think we need to kind of go quickly. We don't have much time. So looking at these, there's several of you have asked a very similar question. Oh my goodness. I think maybe many of you asked the same question. What do you think it is? Here's a list that one of you wrote. Okay, we have lean. Can you read that? So my speakers, you can read there. So lean. Then there's words you could use. Some of you use words like this, versus. Or you could say equal or does not equal. Or relationship. Oh my goodness. And now there's more. We'll have to deal with these in some way. Relationship, conflict. Do you know what I'm about to write next? Excuse me? Very good. TQM. Here's one of you wrote a long list. I'll just copy the list. TQM, TPM, TOC, 6 Sigma, Lean Six Sigma. I'll write this one, Design for Six Sigma. I'll write DOE. Let's see. Business Process BPR. There are more. But you get the point. You get the point, right? Many like that. So, some of the ways that they actually wrote the question, my fellow panelists, ostensibly all of these will help companies, but can it not be confusing? Change is difficult. The most difficult things might be how we handle so many of these different tools and approaches. So the question is how to decide which ones to adopt and practice, as many of these are similar and some are conflicting. Here's another one that mentions frugal engineering. Now, I know financial engineering. I know many such words. I think we all understand what's being asked. So I guess we will simply ask the panel to address this interesting and difficult topic. Would you like to start, Janik? and we'll just go down.
Let me give a very, very brief background in the context in which we started in India. Late 80s, when we had moving to liberalized economy, unregulated or deregulated. So we had enough capacity, but certainly our customers started saying we don't want the kind of quality you produce. So the focus moved on quality at that point of time, and then did ISO 9000 and gradually TQM, etc. And then we moved to TPM. In between came theory of constraints, and then came Six Sigma. So many different organizations used different approaches. What I sense is in service sectors, you find more application of Six Sigma and Lean Six Sigma, and now Lean. My take is you use what you think is appropriate. I don't think there's a, as John said yesterday, if your purpose is clear and you've identified in the current situation what is your need, then you need to debate amongst yourself and see what is appropriate for you. I don't think there's any right answer, this is okay and this is not okay. That's my brief take on this.
Thank you. Just please pass the microphone down. You might introduce yourself as well, since you didn't speak earlier.
Well, my name is Ramanathan. I think Janak gave you a brief introduction. I'll stay with that and proceed. Way back in 1987, I visited the Anjo plant of Denso, and I was taken around the whole day with the purpose of being told how the Toyota production system works. Of course, at Denso, they don't call it Toyota production system. Do you know what they call it? They call it Total Industrial Engineering, TIE. You also had TQC there. You also had TPM, which Denso originated. So how do they manage that? There are three T's there. What does the T stand for? T stands for total. And total for Japanese means by everybody. That's what John said on the first day, social system and technical system. The total is the social system part of it. The technical system part of it is quality control, productive maintenance, and of course industrial engineering. Now why is TPS, Toyota Production System, or Lean Industrial Engineering? If you look at the work of Shingo, you will find that he was a great follower of Gilbreth. And what he did was really industrial engineering, but it's an industrial engineering with a different mindset, and it's also industrial engineering by everybody, including workers. Now, if you go to Toyota, which we did a couple of weeks ago, Janak and I, you will find that they still have these three systems going together. TPM, Toyota Production System, and TQM now, it was TQC before. They are in fact even managed separately, though they want to integrate them. But I don't know where TPM stands in the West, but a lot of good Indian companies have successfully integrated all these three. Out of this long list there are one or two items which have a few conflicting points which you should recognize. BPR, for instance, definitely has a few conflicting points. TQM doesn't have a conflict with TPM, but TPM has a conflict with TQM, so you should understand some of these conflicts and resolve them yourselves. That's my opinion. Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, I don't have an answer. I could have an academic answer. I used to be a professor, so I could talk from a book's perspective, the differences and the similarities and all that. But over this past, as I told you, over this past 16 years, I've been more trying to help companies to improve with a certain method, with a certain vision. And talking from the Brazilian companies, some of them were into quality, similar to India. They opened 1990. Until 1990, the Brazilian market was closed. So we had some foreign investment there, but market was closed for imports. So the Brazilian companies were extremely inefficient. Quality was terrible. Products were ridiculous in terms of the design. So markets were open, and then we start to feel how competition was tough. And then some of the ideas from Japan came. Some of the ideas that there was a system within Japan. There was a Japanese system, and the Japanese system was around TQM and TPM. And so those ideas were introduced. Later on, the ideas of Six Sigma were introduced. But actually, if you go to a Brazilian company today, I don't think any of them will talk about TPM and TQM. They really took ISO. You don't see any Brazilian company competing for a Deming Prize or for whatever prizes. Most of them don't care. Maybe they could compete. Maybe they could even win. I don't know. Some of them are fairly well in terms of the competition, the competitive world. What was really popular in Brazil was ISO. The Brazilian companies at one point were very proud to be certified by ISO. And at one point, the number of Brazilian companies certified by ISO was the second largest country in the world in terms of number of companies certified by ISO. And ISO in Brazil was equal to quality. And do you know what's the #1 country in the world that has the most number of ISO certified companies? No? UK. The UK. So I thought, well, maybe UK is the country #1 in terms of quality, and then second will come Brazil. That's not true. That's not true. So this can be, I go to companies a lot. I've been, every week I'm going to a different company. Some of the companies that we work with, some companies that I visit to see. Sometimes companies are confused. Sometimes companies are confused. And there is a lot of duplication. And there's a lot of people doing the same thing under a different umbrella. And that's dangerous. That's dangerous. If you see somebody, work with quality, there is one group work with quality here, there is one group working with quality here, one group working with quality here, with different audits, different number, different performance. It's a mess. Everybody, as we all know, we should build quality in our process. This is basic. This is what I learned. Right the first time. So there are some fundamental things. Machines have to work when you need them. And if they break, you should try to how do you call it, maintain them, or how do you call it? You fix it fast, the fastest possible. They shouldn't break when you need them. So there are some fundamental things that sometimes we complicate. We create big umbrellas, big houses, lots of pillars, complicate things. So what I like about Lean is the idea of simplicity. Things should be simple, should be focused. Things should be clear to everybody. So that's what I like about this. If those tools and techniques and umbrellas and houses are helping the companies, okay, go ahead. But what I've seen from the outside is there's a lot of confusion. There is total everywhere. It's total everywhere. Total toilet, total restroom, total everything. It's very confusing to me. Very confusing to me. But what's important, if it makes sense to the company, that's okay. But my impression from the outside, we could simplify. We could make things more clear. I like when a company has very clear things that everybody knows, everybody focused, everybody engaged, everybody involved in something very simple. I prefer that approach.
Thank you.
Okay. I think whatever it is written here, there are a lot of things which are written. Some are tools, some are means, some are systems. But all of these basically help you in improving things. The basic focus is not on tools, basic focus is on the improvement. Let me tell you, it's very funny sometimes that one thing we did earlier to improve, we reverse it and have the continuous improvement, going back to the earlier one. I'll tell you one critical, classic example of our own company, not even tools I'll talk about. See, till 1993, Mahindra and Mahindra, there are two major sectors, farm equipment sector and automotive sector. Those were together till 1993, right? So then there was a thought that we were growing. That time also we were growing, we were doing very good growth we had. There was nothing, no problem at all. But then decided that both these sectors have to go separate, independently. And that will help to further improve the profitability and improve the focus on each business. We did that. Okay. Now about 5 to 6 years back, we did improve from 93 to then, and both the businesses are doing very, very well. In spite of that, we have merged them again last 6 years back. But with the learning what we had 93 before, we merged in the areas where we need synergy. Right? So if you really look at, as an outsider, what we have done is that we have reversed thing which we had done for improvement, and further we are improving. The cycle will go on. What I mean to say is that the cycle will go on. Things will keep. What is important is, as I believe very strongly personally, is all human beings are excited with a change. Basically, people look for change to be excited. So what is important is to keep doing something new, keep changing, keep focus on improvement, and whatever tool you use is okay. So, but do it effectively, use it effectively. So, and do not do too many things at the same time. Maybe have a focus, very clear focus, and do it. And maybe after that, like what we said, if you really look at in Japanese, if you go to Japan, TQM and TPM people will not look at the face of each other. They don't even look at each other.
That's
right?
True.
But both of them are good tools. And both of them are complementary. There is nothing wrong. You know that we are continuing with TQM practices and we are going for special award in TPM. So there is nothing like this is better or that is better. It is important thing is that what we do it effectively. And believe in that and do it effectively. And I am sure that what will not work today will work tomorrow. So it's a cycle. According to me, there is no conflict in these things. So you choose what is suitable for you, which you are comfortable with, and don't forget the target that you have to improve. That's all, according to me. Thank you.
Thank you.
See, I go back to 85, I had the same confusion because some of my own sister company, Sundaram Fasteners, were launching on TPM. I was talking about cellular manufacture or manufacturing systems engineering. We never used to call lean because we were all a bit fat at that time, so we didn't want to call ourselves lean. We didn't even know the word. But you must understand very clearly what Peter Drucker says. There is something called effectiveness, there is something called efficiency. First you must know the effectiveness. What business are you in? Is it the business right for you? Should we go further on that? That is where this TQM helps with policy deployment, looking ahead, or the lean tells you, are you in the right business, should we go? The next stage, once get into that, how efficient are you? That is where the TPM come into picture. How to make you efficient. So both are important, they are not in conflicting each other. And the others is all tools, as he said, the philosophy is only TQM, lean, TPM. The rest are all tools designed for Six Sigma. It's a tool. Or TOC, in my opinion, is not it's a tool. How to do. Even if you come to Toyota production system, it is nothing but bottleneck engineering. Somebody said TOC, theory of constraints. How the English is used, that's all. But basically, in my opinion, all are wealth from waste. There is waste taking place in this company. Customer is not going to pay you for all your wasteful activities. So you've got to go back, look at it. First principle, in what business are you? Are you in the right business? Peter Drucker's effectiveness. Use TQM or lean, where we say simplify, eliminate, combine. This is a simple thing. Simplify the business, as he said, if it's simple people, even simple things we don't follow, red, green, yellow. You know how many of us cross red light in the, when you are driving by car, we look here and there, simply go. So if you complicate situation, it would not work. It will only be in, like ISO, it will be only in paper. All will be very good. 3 days before the auditor, we make all files right. You are happy, auditor is happy, everybody is happy, but customer is not happy. So we please understand this.
There is no conflict. Whatever you choose, as he said, choose with confidence, choose with belief, and do, it will lead you to the result. It's like religion. All religions lead to the same result.
Thank you.
I'll just start with a small story. You know, I used to be a management consultant before I started LMII and then subsequently joined L&T. Yeah. So there was a cement company which was, you know, some sort of a laggard in the industry because all the other big cement groups had already started TPM. But this company had done, you know, nothing about it. So they said, okay, we are hiring you and you help us implement TPM across all our plants. So very good. So proposals, etc., everything was made. And then we were thinking, yeah, now we set up a team to handle all those plants. It was all across the country. Then the day we were about to start the assignment, the chief manufacturing officer said, oh, hold it, not TPM. No, you guys are going to do Six Sigma. I said, what's it? Why Six Sigma? Said, no, somebody has come and met the chairman, and the chairman is very impressed with that Six Sigma consultant. So now whatever you do whatever you like, but you know, just call it Six Sigma. So then we thought, you know, let's take some learning out of this. So we created a structure which had, you know, which was basically around TPM, but for the focused improvement part, we said let's use Six Sigma as the tool to accomplish focused improvement. So it's all in, you know, how you see and what you see really, and all these tools are good. And my view is that you got to have your own operating system, your own, you know, production system, or whatever you want to call it, and plug in all the good elements. Like in that cement plant, there were a lot of opportunities for optimization. So there, we thought Six Sigma came in very handy because you know, it has all the. We need not have called it Six Sigma, but that was because, you know, there was a need to call it Six Sigma, not from our end, but from the client end. But then that turned out to be a very good combination. And later on, that consulting firm made a lot of money, you know, selling that combination as, you know, something which is very comprehensive and you know, caters to all needs. So my view is that you create your own system, pick up you know, the essence of whatever tool you have a fancy for or you think is good, and plug it in such a way that it makes sense to you know, all the simple people who are working at the front line, and they don't, you know, end up getting confused. So I think integration at a certain level and not confusing yourself with all the labels is important. So that's the reason why you create your own system and say it is maturing, and you keep adding initiatives as are required.
Thank you. Well, that was a lot of thoughts, and I think I'm supposed to provide some thoughts at the end, and maybe this particular one I'll talk a little bit more about it then. Just one thought to keep in mind is, what is the difference between some of these? So there's a relationship, which to use. What is the actual, is there a difference? Is there actually a difference? I think part of what I just heard the last comment, so there are tools. Use any tool you want. There's a system and there's thinking. So to the extent that any tool represents a certain thinking is something probably that's important for us. I'd like to ask the panel another question. We can't ask too many, I don't guess, DeAndre. But look, can I ask a few more? I'll ask a couple more, okay, if that's okay. Oh, sorry, here we go. A couple of people have asked, and I wondered myself, since when we asked yesterday, I've had many surprises in my few days here. One was when I asked the audience to share who they are and your background, and a lot of people manufacturing, a lot of people from auto, but there's a mix. But I did notice, because when we do these now, usually in the United States or in Europe, it's usually a very different mix. And we usually have a lot of people from different industries. So the summit was focused on lean application in manufacturing. Lean in the health sector is a novel concept. What do you think? Presence of lean in Indian health industry hospitals is almost nil. What can be done about it? Another question that I don't have with me referred to the same thing regarding government, public sector. So perhaps a little more briefly this time. That was a very difficult question, the last one, or one that has a lot of dimensions. What about lean in the healthcare in principle, and what about the status of that in India now and the future, healthcare and government? If everyone can comment.
My perception is and experience is that lean or any of these methodologies or philosophies are used by business organizations or social organizations when there's a felt need for it. And the need often comes through competition. And that's what drove first TQM and then TPM and then TPS and now lean. Now in the area of governance, there is virtually no competition. So some basic elements are missing. Till we put those basics in place administratively, structurally, none of these things will work. So even if we want to push it. Secondly, in healthcare, if you visit a hospital in India, even a good one, they are overflowing with patients and not able to take patients. They don't have the time to spend with the patient. So at this point of time, for them to think, look, how I'm going to improve quality, which is not measured incidentally. How do we improve productivity is not a concern. So the need is not being felt. Till such time the need is felt, it won't happen. Some healthcare systems will start using it, but I'm not too sure about their effectiveness if the need is not felt.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, Janak. To the best of my knowledge, nothing really is happening. And Janak's points are valid enough. I mean, why would they do that? There is some amount of quality-related work going on in healthcare. Not too much, but whatever is going on is welcome. As far as government is concerned, as you know, governments can go bankrupt, nothing happens to them, only we are affected. So I wonder when anything will happen there. Thank you.
Yeah, I think in a country like India, like Brazil, healthcare is a major issue, and it's not only quality, it's not only productivity, but it's availability. Millions of people are out of the system, cannot see a doctor, cannot go to a hospital, cannot take an exam. So there are millions of people. And at the same time, we have the existing system crowded with so many people, with poor performance. And I don't know about India, in Brazil, we spend per capita the same amount of money the developing countries spend, except the US. They spend much more per capita. So you have a country spending per capita a huge amount of money. It's more than 10% of GNP of Brazil. And the accessibility is very limited. A private system for middle class up, for middle class down, very poor service, and a lot of people out of the system. There is a major need. We have had some initial experiences in Brazil. We just published a book by a doctor, and basically in his small oncological clinic, he was able to, when needed, double and one time triple the volume of people going through the system without any additional resources. So he was able to double, in some cases, triple, in some cases, the volume of people going through the system with the same people, with the same building, with the same equipment. So that's the potential for lean healthcare. With lean in healthcare in Brazil, if all the hospitals, all the clinics would follow the same example, we could solve the healthcare problem in terms of accessibility. And I'm not talking only in terms of volume, but also the quality improved dramatically. And it's very simple. It doesn't require investments. You don't need more machines. You don't need more X-rays. You don't need more beds. You don't need more buildings. You just need a new way of thinking how to manage the system. And that goes back to the second issue, government. Government, the healthcare system is, I think in India also, it relies a lot on the government. And government are probably the most anti-lean institution in the world.
No, universities are.
The legal system universities, yeah. Because in Brazil, there's a lot of corruption. We don't have to, it's every day in the paper. If you read the paper every day, it's every day, all the time, everywhere. And basically the idea is we with lean, we want to spend less and get more. Less resources, more results. I think the government mentality, at least in my country, is just the opposite. We need more resources to get less results. So this is anti-lean. I'm hoping in December we're going to have an Australian lady going there, Dennis. She works for the city of Melbourne. She is a lean manager in the city of Melbourne. And the city of Melbourne, Australia, has been managed under lean thinking. And she's going to come down and tell her experience in December. Maybe we can interest some people. But the mentality, the basic thinking, is the fundamental thinking in the government is just the opposite of lean thinking. That's going to be hard to change. But I'm still young. I have some hope.
Thank you. You're not that young.
Yeah. I think in healthcare, I mean, if you look at India and maybe US, there the healthcare business model, what we call, maybe is a very different in India than US. There you have less people and affordability is high. Whereas here, there are more people and affordability is low. So it has to be a different model for healthcare. I do agree now today the situation is, like Janak said, is that there is too much of overflow already. What is important for our healthcare industry is to be more efficient. I somehow feel that lean and these things, if it is implemented, it will help a lot this country and healthcare. Especially there are already two examples, I suppose, Netralaya. What is Netralaya? And there's one, Shetty's Arvind Netralaya. And there is Shetty for heart surgery. They have, Narayan, these two are the big good examples of how they have implemented lean there. They have actually, you know that they have taken assembly line model in their operations. So they have improved their productivity. I will not go into details. Many of you may know it. If you don't know, please get into that. It's very interesting. They have improved productivity so many times. And in both the areas, some people the operations are done free and some are only charged. In spite of that, they are earning money and they are making a lot of profits. So somewhere in India, people have to look at a different model in healthcare, I suppose. And there is a huge opportunity to actually implement this tool in healthcare. So about the government, yes, we know. But somehow I feel recently what Modi is doing is, I think he has understood TPM well. And he's starting with the cleanup activity, which is the first thing in TPM. And I suppose if that is the direction which we are going, not only cleaning up the areas, he is also talking about cleaning up old laws and making awareness and making things effective. I think even these things happen and things will change in India. I have hope now. If he is going the TPM way, I must say that I am firm believer that TPM will do wonders to this country. We will improve a lot. Thanks.
Very interesting. Thank you.
Yeah, I don't think I have enough knowledge or competency to comment on this sector. But one thing please understand, Newton's 3 law works. A body continues to be in a state of rest unless compelled by an external force to change that state. Second, for every action there is an equal and opposite reaction. Third is, our second law is force is equal to mass into acceleration. So you must know how to move, whom to move, or what level of movement is necessary. Third is, to every action there is an equal and opposite reaction. This is nature. The physics law works anywhere in the world. Like Janak said, if there is competition, why all of us change? Let's take, Indian industry started 1950s, 55, 60s. Why did we change after 85 liberalization? Up to that time, even many managing directors did not even know where their industries were. Right? So that's the hard truth. So when the question of your existence is going to be threatened, right, then your reaction. So that's what should happen for a country, for industries, for service institutions. Then only the world will change. This is my submission.
At the last Lean Summit, we had called Aravinda Eye Care to make a presentation on all the good work they were doing. And actually it was an amazing presentation which even Dr. Womack appreciated. Right from the way patients are screened and finally sent for the cornea transplant, all flow concepts, then sort of multiple operator or one machine getting utilized more by serving multiple patients with arrangements. So they showed a lot of slides. It was very, very impressive, and those of you who are interested can probably Google for Aravinda Eye Care, and it's a very, very good example. And the thing is that system is turning out the lowest cost, that the cornea that is to be placed, and that's manufactured by them, and they are the lowest cost manufacturer whom, it was sort of the benchmarks were shown and compared with some of the big US hospitals and organizations which make those cornea pieces. So it's an amazing story which shows that the concepts are there, but as and when an hospital or a healthcare organization would actually feel the need and the pinch, they can just go across. In the case of Aravinda, they are also in the business of replicating their model across various states and to various organizations. Whoever is interested can actually approach them, and they'll help them set up facilities like that. So I think that a few good models exist in the country, and as and when the time is ripe, I'm sure that they are going to spread like wildfire.
Thank you. Another question, maybe one more for the panel, and then I'll wrap up, maybe address some of those and a few more issues, if that's okay. An interesting question that definitely the panel is more qualified to comment than actually either you or I, Jose. But we've talked a lot in these 2 days about management, about lean management. What we need, is it not true that what we need is a lean Indian management? And what would that look like?
Actually, this is an area where we've worked for long. I think ever since 1983 when we started this change journey in India through quality management. Our attempt has been to find what is the right Indian way. Because any of these methodologies, tools and techniques are common, applicable anywhere in the world. Natural principles are common around the world. You or I cannot change. Respect for people, integrity, honesty, etc. are the foundations. None of us can change it. Tools like DOE and 7SQC tools, etc. are common TOC. What is the concept? The applicability of those principles in a given socio-economic environment varies. So like the Japanese took it from the Western world, particularly USA, all these concepts, but they adapted it to meet the Japanese socio-economic requirements. And that's why they succeeded. So our attempt since 1983 has been, how do we find what works appropriately in India? In Indian socio-economic environment. Well, we have attempted many things, and what we find, what works in North doesn't work in South, what works in South doesn't work in West, because India is such a diverse country that social norms change. So I think we've been at it for long. We haven't, I think many successful examples you can see, maybe hundreds now. The culture has changed. At least I know for 5 companies with whom I've been involved for the last 20 years in their Deming journey. Today their culture is totally different than what it was when they started the journey 15 or 20 years ago. You had classical examples of Mahindra's, SRF, and Lucas TVS, Tata Motors. I think when they started the journey, they didn't know it's going to happen like this. They had a belief that this is what we're going to try. And each one of them have adopted a different way of doing it. Like Mr. Ravichandran said this morning, the managing director spoke to 25 groups of 25 people at a time and made it happen. Explain. So I think it's a journey of discovery. We are on it. We have found many right ways. It seems to have given results in those organizations which are in competitive environment. Even Indian industry, only a few sectors are in competitive environment. Where it isn't there, then we keep talking about these, but we don't really use it with the degree of effectiveness with the involvement of people. So I think the point is very valid. We need to find an Indian way, and that's what we've been attempting to do. We have succeeded in many, many organizations. We need to replicate this in many others. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. I hope we are now not going to demand a lean Tamil way, a lean Kannada way, lean Tulu, Pushtu, Konkani way. There is no end to that. As the social system is one part and the technical system is the other, and the technical system is the same no matter where we come from. As to the social system, of course we need to adapt it to the culture of each place, but I think it's more related to your organization than to the country. I think if you are Mahindra, you need a Mahindra lean way, and you need a Lucas TVS lean way, and you need an L&T lean way, right? Personally, I don't think there is such a great weightage attached to this Indianness as far as lean is concerned. If those of us who have implemented it have found it very rewarding and very fast, but the core things in it are very profound. And that's why it's so difficult for so many organizations to take it on. That profound thinking doesn't change no matter where we come from the west, the east. It doesn't matter. Yeah, so I think this is the last question. So
yes,
for those of you who are still here, my thanks. And I wish that the profound learning that you've had in the last couple of days is something that you can value and put into use in your organizations for your transformation and the transformation of your organization. So these are my good wishes to you. Thank you.
Thank you.
This is a very hard question, as all those questions were. But I've been thinking about this. When I started, I had an idea that, well, we have to find a new Brazilian way of managing. And over time, and I have had the great opportunity, like coming to India and going to many other countries, and I've seen great examples everywhere. I've seen some of I think my best lean plan that I've seen in years was in Mexico. I've seen good examples everywhere, and I've seen bad examples everywhere. Looking at the national culture plays a role, but plays a role that can be managed by any company. So I don't see as inevitable that we cannot do it in a Latin country. Yes, we can. But it has to be slightly different because the culture is different. People come to the company with the different values. Remember when I described the culture, the assumptions are different. Just to give you a very simple example, Brazil and many Latin countries, I don't know too much about India, I guess it might be similar. There is a long social distance between the top of the society and the bottom of the society. There's a major difference. If you go to Japan, Japan is a much more collective society. It's a much more equal society. And Brazil and the Latin countries are much more unequal. If you bring that value and some of those assumptions that go around this to a company, you may believe that there's going to be a change in terms of how we're going to make this more like a kind of egalitarian culture. But you can. You can. It's a challenge. It's another problem you have to solve. It's one more. If we think about this lean thinking as being solving problems all the time with deep thinking, with scientific method, this is a problem the company has to solve. How we are going to change some of the values that those people come to the company from what they learn in the schools, in the society, at home, with their families, and so on. So it's basically possible to do it in every country. So I think it's going to be, as you move around, you see more companies going deep into this new way of thinking, this profound change in the way the companies are organized. You're going to see more similarities, no matter where the company is located at. So what makes it unique is the way of thinking, and it can be done anywhere. So you're going to see more similarities between companies that really understand this and do this in a way that you're going to see that, I've seen that the same way of thinking in many different countries. So the national culture is not a major obstacle that can't be dealt. So I'm basically more concerned about, what is this lean culture going to look like than a Brazilian culture or a Latin culture as a significant thing in this transformation process.
Thank you.
Yes. I don't think personally there's something to do with the culture as far as the things change as per the culture. There's nothing called Indian lean, I suppose. Just to give an example, we went through TQM and then TPM. So we were also actually audited by JIPM, which is Japanese, and they did not actually audited us with Indian TPM scale. It was common for like what they did that as it was in Japan, that similar way in India. So as far as I feel that there is nothing different. It will not, the systems, or rather the what we call this TPM, TQM culture building, and that doesn't change country to country according to me. What changes which is a challenge, is the communication. Yes, the method of communication and the way you interact and make people agree to do it changes from culture to culture, or maybe company to company. It can vary. For doing the communication and taking people on board, what we call, has to be done in line with the culture that you have in your company. That's the only difference, I suppose, as far as the system is concerned. I don't see any difference. According to me, lean is something you have to, keeping it simple, to do what is the objective is to bring up, surface the problems that you have. How to do it? It's a simple thing, to reduce the fat. Reduce fat, make it lean, make it efficient. When it is lean, it is efficient. And the only way to do it is reduce fat. Once you do, problems will automatically surface. That's the system. That's a very simple thing. It will work in US, it will work in Japan in a similar way in India. I don't think there is a difference. Maybe the only difference I can see is the way you communicate. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Very good. Yes, please.
Yeah. I think lean will work anywhere in the world because it's a principle science. 5 into 4 is 20 anywhere in the world. You cannot say in India it is 5 into 4 is 19, whereas in US it is 5 into 4 is 25. It is not so. But there are 3 things you should never forget. It has to merge with the culture of the country. As Indians, we are very quick to be satisfied and we are very quick to be dissatisfied. This is one culture we have. End of the day, we will say lean seminar was superb. Today is okay. Tomorrow morning we'll forget lean, I know. Right? This is the hardcore character of Indians. The second point is, in this, what we need to understand is when to start. Right? Because if you want to start, start today. There's no question of when to start, but you have to go through your management when to start. That is in our hand. How to do, it is defined in the world. Don't worry. If you do that way, you will get the same results. There's no issue. Third is, another weakness we have is sustenance. As Indians, we are a bit indisciplined. I'm very open. Don't mistake me. As an Indian, we are not very well disciplined. Our biggest problem in the country is discipline. So how do you get the discipline into the system? That's what somebody asked in the morning about discipline. Discipline is important. All these things work through certain discipline. If you don't have the discipline, this will simply go waste, all efforts. And you put a excellent chart. This is what happens. You go like that, go up. As I said, I slept for 2 years, 3 years. I thought I did a great job in 92. I'm the best in the world. Dropped. Somebody has to kick me, then I went up. So discipline is very, very important if you want to do anything in life. Right? That's all. This will work. So have belief and really start tomorrow. Don't worry, your managing director has to launch, kick off TPM or kick off lean. Nothing is necessary. Start from your office tomorrow. Remove unnecessary files. Remove unnecessary tables. Clean your table first. Don't expect a peon to come and clean your table. Remove peons from your company first. Alright? India will improve. All the best.
Thank you.
I'll again talk about another incident. You know, we used to take pride in creating material in vernacular for spreading TPM across a workforce. So because we used to insist that there should be at least 18 hours of training provided to each and every workman if you seriously want them to participate in autonomous maintenance. So we had already created texts in Hindi and Gujarati. So we were in a plant in Gujarat where we said that, look here, there's a Gujarati text here for you, and we are going to, create internal trainers who are going to. Then one of the workers said, hold it, we don't want anything in Gujarati. Please put it in English. We understand all this English is simple enough, and the way you are speaking and conveying, that is enough. At least it will give us an opportunity to, learn this and feel on par with the rest of the world. So what I'm trying to say is it might actually become even counterproductive to look for, Indianness sort of thing, in the quotes, in these sort of initiatives. And given the way the world is connected through the internet or through television, everybody knows the language has in a way ceased to be a barrier. Yes, as Mr. Shanoy has said, the way you communicate or the amount of time you might spend in communication, that might vary, but it's actually a non-issue. The local culture affecting the overall, the way the initiative is structured, the essence of the initiatives will remain the same, and language will or culture may actually not play a part. Because human beings are actually the same everywhere. The basic emotions, needs, everything are the same everywhere. Everybody wants to be treated with respect. So given that there is a common denominator, it's not much of an issue at all.
Thank you. And with that, I think what I'm going to do is make the final comments that were in the, we promised that in the handout, in the outline, the schedule that we gave you. I'll ask the panelists to just stay here if that's okay. I think that's more efficient right now. It's probably more effective right now as well. And then I'll make some brief remarks, and then Janik will wrap up at the very end. I guess I will talk briefly about, for my wrap up, a couple of things that just came up. Since we're here, it's the Lean Summit. We call it the Lean Summit. So this relationship between lean and other things is worth some comment. And then this other issue that was raised around culture and Indianness. We're here in India hoping that, passionately hoping that all these methodologies can help make things better for India, for Indians, and the region. We do have people here from a few countries, 7 countries, I think. 8. Okay, it's more than from 8 countries. I'm going to go back in terms of thinking about what is lean. One of the questions that was asked up here was, why do you call it lean? And we introduced the fact that it was some MIT researchers, one of whom was Professor Farrow, who decided in 1988 to call it lean. They were simply faced with a decision of looking at a body of work. As they looked at that, they felt like it had neither been fully described in terms of results or in terms of what it is, how it works. And so they sat in a room, a small group of people, a few more than this right here, but not much more, sat in a room and had a debate about what to call it. Different ideas came up. One was to call it fragile. And the logic behind calling it fragile was that it's an integrated system. I think some of you mentioned how it needs to be integrated. Everything needs to work together. Therefore, if something isn't part of it, the whole system will break. Therefore, let's call it fragile. So after some debate and some other suggestions, someone suggested lean, simply because there is no excess. There is no waste, it was mentioned earlier. And so the word lean was used. The English nuance of the word lean, I think, does not capture everything that we discussed these last 2 days. We talked about a holistic system. We talked about basic thinking. We talked about system integration. One of the words that did not come up as far as there were acronyms that we have, TQM and Six Sigma and things like that. One that did not come up was system dynamics. It's one that does come up sometimes in the States. It comes up in academic circles. It's a very difficult word, more difficult than the word lean, but perhaps more accurate. And that what we're talking about is a complex system. But you're talking about bringing about some rules that make that complex system work in a user-friendly way with the real world. So that's what lean tries to do. Now, it's often you hear, another word that was mentioned was process improvement. And you will often hear that people will say, I don't care which process improvement tool you use any tool you want, it doesn't matter. And I understand that. But if you look at either this house here or think of it as another house, another way of conceptualizing a system, that's a complete misunderstanding of what we're actually talking about. Lean shares some tools with other disciplines, whether TOC, Six Sigma, but for example, Six Sigma, to use that. Six Sigma is indeed, I'm going to say, anyone with belts can attack me later. I'm going to say it's a process improvement methodology, and it's fine. And in that sense, yes, when we come about making improvements in the work, anything that helps us get to root cause and make it better, let's be completely agnostic about that. However, if you look at, for example, that house there, process improvement is one piece of that, only one piece of that. So in that sense, the confusion of lean versus Six Sigma is just is an unfortunate confusion. It's misplaced. They're totally different things. One is a process improvement tool, a set of tools, right? The other is a systemic look at the world and how it works. And it gets to, in fact, basic thinking. Another thing that the T can stand for, one of my favorite teachers at Toyota, in fact, TPS, it's called, right? And one of my favorite teachers there back in the day said the T should not stand for Toyota. It should stand for thinking. So it's a thinking production system. And by production system, it's not just meaning production in the factory. It doesn't mean just manufacturing. It means the production of any kind of service or good. It means the production of value for a customer. So a difference, again, there's a systemic view of what lean is. Also as a process improvement tool, is actually by its nature, such as Six Sigma, is quite agnostic. So if I have, let's see, a target, right? And I want to get closer to hitting that target. And where I'm actually hitting is way out here, right? Then I can use those tools to help me move steadily toward that target, right? That's what they're for. But it's agnostic as far as what you aim at. You can aim at anything, it'll help you move there. So that target could be right here, if I wanted to, and it would help me move there. Lean actually has something to say about where you aim. it has some value judgments built in, that we begin with value. So the reason all the talk about waste in TPS in the early days and today is because it's the opposite of value. You can't identify waste unless you know what value is. So we start with value and we back up from there. And we start from the value creating points and back up from there. So what's characteristic about lean versus a lot of the others, which also some of the others also have value judgments as part of them, is you back up from that value each step as you get removed, thinking how can I have nothing but singularities of value throughout an entire value stream. So a customer here, value being created. So that drives you towards developing a lot of those lean tools, flow tools. So there's connection between some of the flow dynamics of lean with JIT and the flow dynamics of TOC. They're different though, but there's a lot of commonalities there. At least there's another that focuses on flow, which is TOC. Of course, TOC is mainly about bottleneck elimination. So you attack bottlenecks, attack bottlenecks, attack bottlenecks, which is not at all what Toyota's JIT flow is about. You never let your problem areas dictate how you design your system. It's a system design tool, which came up during the discussion, in fact. So as many of us learned it, we often start with the tools. We realize later that there's a system involved in this. It has to all work together as an integrated system. And there you'll find commonalities with the other initiatives, the other disciplines between the tools. You'll also find some commonalities then in terms of the system. And then there's the thinking. And how that thinking, how the social and technical part, we address them separately, like even in this little house. That's so we don't forget to address them both. But ultimately, we want them to be one and the same. We want each tool and the way the work is done to embody the culture that we want to have. So it's the actual tool itself is going to embody, the way we use it, will embody that respect for the person doing the work and the respect for the value that's being created on behalf of the customers. That, I do think, as several of the panelists mentioned, is beyond national culture. I think the one thing that probably we do have to be careful of is that what you call communication, or how we engage with people. So having done this now in many cultures, many cultures for 30 years, one more story about my own initial experience, which was, as an American, trying to take something that was Japanese to America. And I was very aware of being an American. In fact, that's why they hired me. I was there. I was the American. I was I was the talking dog. I was the American who could speak some Japanese and was learning about this system. And I was the one who was supposed to kind of make a verdict, especially as we were developing a training program. I would look at the training programs and I would change the wording, and I'd say, no, we can't use this word in the U.S., and I would change certain programs and things like that. That was part of my job, and I took some pride in it, and especially as a young American, I took excess pride in that. And I was very much being concerned about making it an American thing. So one day I had a big, interesting exchange, kind of a fight with one of the senior Japanese, who brought to me a training program that he had translated by a translating company in Tokyo. It was a big, thick book, set of materials. I looked at it, and I'd been there again about not so long, but I had, I was proud of myself already. And so I looked at the training program, and I told him no. He said, what? And I said, no, you cannot do this in America. Americans will not accept this. This is culturally unacceptable to Americans. And he calmly said, why? And I explained because it was just too, in a way, disciplined or too very strict, exactly what the instructor would say at what point in time. They would actually read a script. The instructor would read a script. And then at certain points, the instructor would walk over to, now we have whiteboards, or now we have tablets. And the instructor would walk over to that time a blackboard and would write something on the board. Exactly what to write, where on the board, and when was completely dictated. Complete standardized work. And I said, no, you cannot do this with Americans. And it had some words in it about how to place the learner physically in a position that I thought sounded something you can't say in the U.S. So he kept calmly, talking with me and finding out what I was thinking for a long time, patiently. Then finally he lost patience. And he went to a back room in the area where we worked, to a library, and he brought out a book, a bound book that was about this big and is about this thick, and it was a training package that the Americans had given the Japanese in 1950, and that training package in English was precisely, verbatim, exactly the training program that I told him he could not ever do in the United States. It was born in the U.S. It was an American training program. And I told him it would never work there. Now, why he translated his Japanese version back into English, I never fully understood. Because there were 3 programs that were part of it. One of those was 100% the same as it was when they received it in 1950. Now, this was 1984, and at that time, that program had been completely forgotten in the United States. I used to address audiences like this and much bigger of American industrialists and ask them, who has ever heard of this program? No one had ever heard of it. And many Japanese companies, including Toyota, were still using it verbatim, and they still do to this day, certain parts of it. So ever since then, I've told myself never to use national culture as an excuse. That let's begin with what makes sense with problems. There's a problem in front of me, in my office. There's work to be done to improve my office. We can all go back and start doing that tomorrow. Healthcare here, so I can tell you that there's a lean healthcare movement around the world, including countries like South Africa that have a very different structure and system than what we have in the United States. Where there's a problem, there's a need for lean. And from there, you back up from the value being created, the problem to be solved, and then engaging the people who do the work with an obsessive concern for how the work is done. So if there's something that's kind of characteristic in terms of how it feels in a lean working environment, it's an obsessive concern with how the work is done. Just watching the operator for a long time, trying to understand what their fingertips are doing and why they're working there, and then what their eyes are doing. And we try to even extend that to every kind of work, including in hospitals, which is an amazing thing to see when this actually starts to work in making human lives better. Having said that, we have to be aware the cultures do have some differences. The way senior executives can communicate and engage with middle-level executives and with front lines, there are some differences there that we always need to be absolutely concerned with. But that's about the only one around the world I've really found to be especially concerned about. But that one seems to be real. Other than that, I say try it and let's see how we can go. And I think I speak for everyone here. We're just saying our profound hope is that you will then take everything that you've gotten here, you'll go back and use this, and you'll come back and join us again the next time we do this, and you'll share your stories. And then we'll make this into something that grows exponentially throughout the country of India and the region. So thank you for letting me be here. Thank you to the panelists for joining us. And Janik, I'll leave it to you. Thank you. Would you like us to sit down, or shall you just?
Yeah, I just
Okay.
virtually completed the Lean Summit, so it's my pleasure to propose a vote of thanks and provide certain inputs. First of all, I would like to thank all the participants who have gathered here, coming from different parts of the country and different parts of the world. And we have 250 people here from 8 different countries. They are representing 90 companies, which is a very large, and from diverse sectors. Manufacturing, of course, is predominant, but we have many people from service sector, and we have 7 people from academia too. So that's a good thing to have such a diverse group of people participating in this endeavor to improve through lean approaches and make our lives better and make our companies more successful. Thank you very much for your active participation and for being here. Next, I would like to thank the sponsors of this Lean Summit. The gold sponsor is GMR, which we all know is they made the Hyderabad airport and now Delhi airport, and then many other businesses, developers. Okay. Silver sponsors are Bharat Forge from Pune, then Tube Investment of Murugappa Group from Chennai, L&T Finance from Mumbai, and TQM International from Delhi. So well represented, except eastern part of India. Okay. I would like to thank Mr. John Shook, Sensei, who's come all the way from USA, and he's given us profound knowledge and how to go about using it for improving our performance. And thank you, John, very much for sparing your time. It's your first visit. Kept you very busy. Your flight came late, but nonetheless, you have enough energy. I must say, Jose has also been very active in planning and organizing this summit for almost a year. He has been in constant touch with Dhiren here and guided him in many ways through many Skype calls and conferences. And they've been ably assisted by Jiku Mohan, who didn't come to the stage for a short while. He came in the panel discussion. He's been the one who's behind the scene, very, very active in promoting this conference. Thank you, Jiku. Then we had the two chief guests, Hemant Nerurkar, who is the president of All India Management Association. He explained to us in a very nice manner how the process industry like Tata Steel could make such use lean so effectively. And then we had the second guest of honor, Mr. Vikram Kirloskar, who represents the manufacturing automobile industry as vice chairman of Toyota Kirloskar Motors, where we're visiting tomorrow both his plants, Tata TKM and TKAP. Then I must thank the guest speakers, who are, some of them are here on the dais, others there. Girdhar Reddy from Rane, Mr. Ravi Chandran from Lucas TVS, Mr. KG Shenoy from Mahindras. They represented the manufacturing companies. Then we had discrete manufacturing by Mr. L. Krishnan of Tegutech. And process industry, we had Ashok Muthuswamy from Tata Chemicals, and EPS by Ravi Achanta from Larsen & Toubro. Fairly diverse group of people making presentation from various sectors. Thank you very much for sharing your experiences and enriching our knowledge. From service sector, we had two from consulting companies, Cognizant, represented by Malolan Sarangapani, and Capgemini, represented by Yoram and Matteo. Then financial services were represented by Jitendra Agarwal, HDFC Standard Life, and Anshuman Tiwari of HSBC. Thank you very much for sharing your experiences with us. I would like to thank the management of J.N. Tata Auditorium, who provided us this wonderful facility in a nice environment and helped us to conduct this conference. And Akram, who has been helping us in so many ways around here. And then we had PQP Publishers, who had the stall outside, Aditya Printers, BJN Catering, and Crystal Gifts. Last of all, I would like to thank Sandy, the chairman of LMII. He is really enormous. Hundreds and hundreds of emails he wrote to promote this day and night, tirelessly. Thank you, Sandy, for your support. And of course, Dhiren Dubey, the chief executive of LMII. And the support team consisted of Veena, who's here from LMI, Krishna Maheshwar from TQMI, Uday from TQMI, and there were many others. I wouldn't, they're not here, so we must thank them for making their contribution. Thank you very much, and I wish you all the very best in your endeavor to improve. Go back in peace and safety, and hopefully you are able to use what you have learned here and put into practice. I think each one of us country needs it, and if you can make that little contribution, we'll be that much better off. Thank you very much.
Okay, friends, our journey starts right now. I see a lot of bottles below your seats. So start 5S right now, take those bottles, put in the outside dustbin. Our journey starts. Bye for today.